5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The pit stop is vital to every race team's success. Pull off the track, let your team go to work.
Outside, clear.
Change all 4 tires, fill the fuel cell, and make needed adjustments, all in 8 seconds or less.
Boy, wouldn't it be great if every driver that was looking for a sponsor, every team that was looking for a sponsor, that there was a sponsor for them? And gosh, it would be great if that was the case, wasn't it? But it isn't. The reality is far different than that. We're going to talk about that today. Hey, welcome to Pits Are Open. Will Murata, your host, Alex Smith, our producer, engineer, and of course, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in on SpeedSport 1. Great to have you. If you're watching as a recorded piece, maybe later on YouTube, please like and subscribe the channel, like and share, like and follow. If you're listening as a podcast on Spotify, please follow us on Spotify. And of course, we always want you to go to our website, thepitsareopen.com. You see at the top there's a banner. You click on that banner and sign up for our weekly newsletter, which is now going out to more than 5,000 people a week. We only send it once. We don't load you up with stuff. It's a one-time. You just tell you, we'll give you some great racing news and also give you a preview of the upcoming episode. So that comes out every Tuesday. And we'd love for you to be a part of that family as well. But you know, there's kind of we got some great guests coming on, and both of them involved in sponsorship. And I'm going to talk a lot about it. But there's kind of a mythology that's going around in racing, and I used to buy into it, that if the sponsors only knew about me, or the sponsors only knew about our team, boy, they would just line up. They would get involved. Now, I have to say, for people who are in sponsors that are involved right now, it's a great time. It's a great time. But here's the reality. The reality, this isn't my making this up. This is U.S. Census and Small Business Administration. There's more than 33 million businesses in the United States, but roughly only 6 million employer firms. Now, what's an employer firm? Well, they hire people. There's people on a payroll, right? There's only 6 million of those. But when you look across all the different series, whether it's NASCAR, IMSA, we had Rolex 12 Hour this weekend, IndyCar, ARCA, Sprint, USAC, all across those series, Trans Am, there's less than, at best, in the low thousands of companies that are sponsoring motorsports in the United States. That equates to less than 1% of companies, and really it equates to less than 0.5% of companies that are involved actively sponsoring teams, drivers in motorsports. And it's not a criticism of racing. It's just a reality of the marketplace. There's a lot of constraints that sponsors face. You know, we talked about this last week with Erica from Autofluencer, Erica Seitzma, where, you know, we have this misconception that companies just have all this money to just toss around. And again, it's if they just knew about you, if they just knew you were there, if they just knew your team was out there, they would want to sponsor you. You know, it's just never that easy. It's hard work. You got to get in front of them. You've got to come up with a package that works for them, something that ROIs out. We talk about all the time ROI, and for the longest time it was kind of the dirty joke in racing. You know, well, you know, how do you prove ROI? Well, you don't really talk about it, but sponsors are far more educated today, and they're far more selective with how they're spending their money, and teams face constraints because they kind of go after the same companies year after year. We're going to be and talking to JP Moery in a few minutes. JP's got a line on that he talked about a few weeks ago. We go after automotive suppliers. We go after energy drinks. We go after oil companies, tool manufacturers, insurance firms, telecommunication companies. So we're kind of fishing in the same hole, in the same pond all the time. And it's difficult. It's difficult because there's just not that many companies that have, of the 6 million employee firms that are out there, less than 50,000 even have enough marketing budget that they could get into racing. So it's not that there's all of these companies that are waiting to get in. They just don't know about you, or they just don't know about your team. No, it's a relatively small scale. So when you're a good sponsorship development person, you're worth your weight in gold because you're doing the hard work. You're finding these companies that want to be in motorsports, that see the benefit of motorsports, and then realize it and can show it to their teams, to their boards. So it's if I want to encourage you to go to follow me on LinkedIn, it's just Will Marotti, LinkedIn. I publish every week now an article about the business of motorsports. This was one I did last week, I think, or maybe the week before. It's the problem of the sponsor pool in motorsports, not nearly what you might think it is. But again, for the companies that are in it, boy, they're having a great time right now. And this is a great momentum time to introduce new companies to motorsports. And to speak about this, joining us now, a good friend of the show, and what a successful, just a successful person in life, but really getting it done for AJ Foyt Racing is the one, the only JP Moery. JP, welcome back to the show.
Will, it's great to be back with you, man. You've got a lot of things on your mind. You set this up pretty good today.
Working hard. I read JP is the master of putting out content, whether it's just a video of a few minutes of thoughts that he's had. He's got a great background. Here's, listen to this. He's currently Senior Vice President AJ Foyt Racing. Brings more than 30 years of business development with him. He's held many positions, but places like the Vice President of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He's a master with trade associations. He did it for 30 years. And he's taken that when he started JP Moery Racing. He's taken that skill that he learned in the trade association world, and he's converted that now into motorsports, and it's working. It's working for him. It's working for his team. It's working for his drivers. How is your season going so far this year? Early into it, but how's the season going so far this year?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the show. We've never been in this position that we're in now in terms of whether it's Foyt, whether it's Taylor Reimer and the ARCA series, a lot of things we do individually with Santino Ferrucci, the driver for the number 14. Primaries locked down for the season, looking at renewals, big anchor events. I know that we'll talk about that are happening with IndyCar. Business trajectory is fantastic. And, as you mentioned the background a little bit, I think a lot of this has to do with the ability to just find different and new business connections, because I think you're totally right that hole that everybody has been fishing in, like everybody from every series is in that. So one of the things that I've started to do a lot is I think companies are really adapting to sports marketing. Mm-hmm. So let's make that a bigger hole to fish out of. Let's make it a pond. Let's make it a lake. And I think if you start looking at sports marketing companies, you can pull them into motorsports, because I guarantee you, I had one at Arlington last week. New sponsor, new race for them. And the first thing I said, hey fellas, this isn't like having a box at the baseball game. Mm-hmm. Like they experienced it and they were blown away by it. So I think if we broaden out, start looking at people that are adapting to sports marketing with their companies, we're going to have a much better prospect group to look at as a motorsports sponsor.
I think so too. JP Moery with us, Senior Vice President, AJ Foyt Racing. We're going to take a quick break, show some love to our sponsors. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We've got a lot more to talk about.
This segment is brought to you by Redline Ace. In racing, image isn't extra, it's part of the competition. Redline Ace understands that, and they build visuals that command attention the moment you roll onto the track. Located just minutes from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana, Redline Ace specializes in high-performance motorsports graphics trusted at every level of competition. From custom car wraps and full team branding to helmets, haulers, hero cards, and much more, they make sure your presence matches your performance. See the difference for yourself at redlineace.com. and find out why champions trust Redline Ace to keep their image in victory lane.
All right. Hey, welcome back. Pits are open. Will Moery, your host with us. Good friend of the show, JP Moery. JP, how long have you been I mean, you were working with Santino before you took the position at Foyt. How long has the whole window been in IndyCar for right now? I know it started earlier, but is at the intensity level you've been at recently. How long has that been?
Oh, like 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
I mean,
okay.
I started as a when I had my own company in DC. I sponsored the number 18 Vassar Sullivan car, of which Santino eventually drove. And that's where I started. One, I started to see the value of motorsports because it increased my brand, and we certainly leveraged it for a lot of in-person deals, and just saw the value of motorsports, and I loved it anyway. And then after I exited my company, it made it quite easier to come in and be a part of the sponsorship dynamic for Foyt and other teams. And that's how I got started in it.
So let's
start as a sponsor.
Let's look at a 3-year window from when you started and last year in particular to where you're at right now. How would you describe the progress and what you're building over the last 3 years? Are you surprised at all? How do you feel about it?
I would say on a business development aspect, it's the hardest work that I've ever been involved in.
Really?
But it's right now I can see across all the different series and just motorsports in general, it's a super positive environment. Really, really good. I think, it could be because, as you mentioned in your numbers, most companies have not tried it before. So if you think about it, they've had all their legacy bias, and they've tried all their trade shows, and they've tried all the traditional marketing. They've bought magazine ads. Maybe they've been on television. Maybe now motorsports is the new thing for them. And we certainly have a diverse dynamic that we can bring, whether it's in person or B2B sales or marketing or social media for the driver and the team. All of those things can amplify for the sponsor. And they don't have a million opportunities to do that with the things that they're used to doing.
Sure.
So I think maybe we're in a good position for once.
Yeah. No, I think IndyCar is on a tear right now. I mean, you see first time since 2008, 2007, we started out the season, the first 3 races, all well over 1 million viewers on TV. I mean, that is earth shaking. And really, as a result, I think of 2 years ago when we had the big announcement of Fox not just covering and taking the broadcast from NBC, but actually investing in the series, investing in becoming a partner with Penske Entertainment. How much of a difference has Fox made, do you think?
Yeah, well, here I can tell you what I see. And that is when you start naming, if you start Arlington, you have Washington, D.C., you've got the linchpin of the Indy 500. We're starting to see these big anchor events that sponsors are interested in. Sponsors calling us about availability. Just got off one today for Washington, D.C. It's going to be tremendously successful, I think, for the race teams. When you start having those as inbounds, the rest of the inventory gets bought up pretty quick because these people are buying. They want to buy the whole season, or if they have a good experience, they want to increase and they want to do full season type stuff. So now you're starting to run into an inventory issue. I would say this, long story long, more demand than supply.
Yeah.
Now, I've never thought I'd say that.
No, that's honestly, it's hard to hear it because, I remember that's just not been the way it has been in IndyCar for a lot of years. Yeah. And now you're seeing this resurgence. So do you account a large degree of that to the Fox deal, or, obviously some of it has to be credited to Fox, but do you think Fox has really made the series that much more commercially viable?
Well, I always think that I'm more of a 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of person. So I think it's little bets all over the place. The product's good. The racing's fantastic. Fox is obviously collaborating with the series in a great way to bring great events to the series and all of that. But I do think that there's this unique aspect of motorsports marketing that brands are starting to buy into, whether it's the ARCA series, whatever series it might be. So we're all, I think, seeing some benefits from that. But there's no doubt that IndyCar's, that there's pent up momentum that we've all been looking for and wanting to have. And we're seeing that in the series right now. There's no doubt about it. And Fox obviously has a role to play there.
I mean, you look at, as you mentioned, the venues, Arlington, great first. I mean, couldn't have been a better debut for Arlington than it was. I think we're going to see a tremendous event in Washington. Are you feeling like you're getting closer to home, back to Washington D.C. with this race, with your years in the trade association world?
Yeah, some of my favorite ex-clients are, interested again in talking with me. So I think there's some passes that I need to be given away for that race. But I think it's going to be, this is another trend that we're seeing, I think, Will, and that is hospitality and hosting is becoming an increasingly important part of the value proposition that we have to offer. Most of the sponsors that we're bringing in right now are really thoughtful about how they're going to play the hospitality game. It makes me think about, how am I going to work with the promoters more and get more proactive about that so I can offer a full package?
Sure.
That's one trend that I'm seeing. The other trend, and it's more difficult, it's more work, but there is no doubt, maybe it's my drivers that I work with, Santino, Taylor, every sponsorship leaning heavily on personal appearances and individual activation with them. Every brand wants that. We're almost seeing ourselves truly as extensions of the company. I would say the other trend is this, Will. I probably spend 25% of my time right now working on getting client deals for our sponsors. So it's not just, we used to just say B2B, right? But it's actively bringing them clients or working to do that.
You're doing the B2B.
We're doing it.
That's awesome.
And so those are trends that we see happening in the market right now.
And it's not just IndyCar. IMSA reported record attendance at the Sebring 12-hour race. You couldn't. I mean, the TV was the telltale. That place was packed. I mean, people everywhere, fans everywhere. So you're seeing some really good racing being produced. You're seeing some good events being produced. Certainly, Sebring is a legendary race, one of the second oldest, I think, endurance race in the world. Certainly, United States. What do you think? How can that translate? Oh, by the way, let me ask you, how are you guys doing with your Indy Next program? That's a new one for Foyt this year, right? You've got 2 cars in Indy Next.
Yeah. So obviously very early in that process. But we've had a couple of meetings with partners that at this time, Indy Next is the more appropriate venue for them, right? For what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. So if you think about it, maybe their budget perspective is one that they still want to be at many of these events that we're going to be co-hosting Next and an IndyCar program, but they may not have the budget at this point to do a full IndyCar season. But an Indy Next thing could be more appropriate for them. Especially, here's where I don't know if it's landed yet. I don't have a year's worth of FS1 data and Fox data for Indy Next to talk about the value of broadcast yet, but we certainly seeing more inventory available that I think we can provide to partners ongoing. I think it's going to be valuable in the long term.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? We're going to take a break for another moment, but I want to come back to that and talk to you specifically about Next and something that I just thought of for the first time ever based on what you just said. So let's hold on to that thought. Guys, we'll be right back. Don't go away. JP has a lot more to share. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Thank you.
This segment is brought to you by Schaeffer Manufacturing. Schaeffer Oil. When performance is non-negotiable and equipment is pushed to the edge, Schaeffer shines. This is protection that shows up when things get pushed to their limit. Their advanced lubrication technology reduces friction, runs cleaner, lasts longer, and it helps prevent the kind of breakdowns that cost time, money, and momentum. That's why professionals in trucking, farming, and racing trust Schaeffer. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just performance that holds up. Learn more at SchaefferOil.com.
All right, welcome back, Pits Are Open. Will Marotti, our host, Senior Vice President, AJ Foyt. That's just got a great ring to it, doesn't it, Alex? Senior Vice President at AJ Foyt. I mean, AJ Foyt. I just love the sound of it. JP Murray's with us.
Me too.
Let me come back to, it's iconic, right? It's like working, you say you're working for Andretti, but really because AJ's still around.
It's a dream.
AJ's still there. Is he going to make it to Indy this year, do you think? This will be, I think, 74 years in a row if he does.
Well, the track record's pretty good. So.
You mentioned this about next. Now, you think about the ladder series, and IndyCar has for a long time had a really good development series, whether it was USF 2000, USF Pro. Penske took over the Indy Next, which used to be the Indy Light series. And, you think it's a development series and people go, well, it's a development for, drivers, mechanics, engineers, team people, right? It teaches them the ropes as they work their way up and hopefully get to IndyCar. But you just hit something I never thought about. This is like a development series for sponsors.
Oh, yeah. The conversation that I was referring to, it was a company wanting to be involved with AJ Foyt Racing. So that extension into Indy Next gives me a platform for that company too.
So great.
Again, still haven't vetted all that out yet in terms of the value prop and the price. I'm not sure, do we have the pricing right and things like that? I'm just being very transparent.
Sure.
But it's certainly something that is an asset that we didn't have 12 months ago when you talk about things that are different.
Right. But just the thought of it is like, you're training your sponsors, right? You're giving your sponsors a chance to get in at a budget they can afford. Then they see the value of it. They're at the same venue that the IndyCars are at. They're in the same place where the IndyCars are. And a year, 2 years, maybe 3. Now they're coming in and they're making sure that they can afford to get in. They're budgeting. They're planning for IndyCar, which is obviously the higher price tag. But what a wonderful tool to use in Indy Next for sponsorship development. And I never thought of it until just now. It's so cool.
And the folks at HMD Motorsports do a fantastic job of hosting and hospitality for their sponsors, of who we're working with that program. Sure. So they can take care of them, credential them up. And you're right. And gosh, you think they're going to make their way over to our place? Sure. We're going to have them over and they'll get some benefits of the,
and meet Larry Foyt and maybe AJ Foyt. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You posted something a couple weeks ago. I lose track of time. You posted something recently. Maybe it was yesterday. It could have been that. Why you like helmet sponsorships?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Talk about that. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, I love this. This is another example. So what Santino and I are we're working on together is helmets. First of all, with a team with in-car camera, the value of in-car brand placement, depending upon the team and the race and all that success, it's in the millions of dollars. So that little area is super valuable. Now, then when you have a personality like Santino, when he actually does whenever he gets a new helmet with a ROI, he launches it and does social media on it and shows all the sponsors on it and everything. Right. So that's unique. And then, the design, it's a great product launch. And so now what we're starting to do is we're having stickers strategically placed on the helmet in that in-car camera. And we're the challenge is when you sell the whole season, you're kind of out of stuff sometimes. But then you've got these individual races where a small brand he had a great roofing and air conditioning contractor in Arlington on the top of that helmet for the whole weekend. It was great for them.
Wow.
First time they'd ever been involved in it. So it's another good entry point. That's why I like it so much. And it's not a heavy lift.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to rewrap the car and stuff.
Right.
So I like the mobility and the ease of I want to do business with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always found we've got a sponsor right now that started as a helmet sponsor. Now they're involved with the team and the driver. It started with a helmet thing. So yeah, if there's drivers out there that just think that, I think we can think about that as absolutely valuable inventory that maybe the drivers aren't thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great. You know, I've heard you mention this before, and I think it's so true. And we know that because we've been at the races, but this is so much different than like a regular, ball and stick kind of sport. It's one thing if you go to a baseball game and put a client in a box, or I love hockey, so you bring a hockey, right? This is different. This is like, you're not just sitting there, watching the game, enjoying the game, going for your hot dog or whatever. This is you're getting such an extra sensory experience because of the sound, the speed, the aroma of tires and alcohol-based fuel. I mean, there's such a different sensory level going on, and I think it embeds in the memories. I think it makes better memories, right? Yeah. Talk about that with your sponsors.
Well, when all those senses are firing off, you get more connected to the people that you're around. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think it's probably, it's scientifically proven, right? If you can tap into all the senses of a prospect, they're going to resonate with you more. So if you think about it at the racetrack, I mean, you're within safety reasons, you're on the field of play.
Yeah.
When you're in the paddock or when you're in the pits. You're with the team as they're preparing the car. You may sit down and have lunch with Taylor or Santino or whoever the driver is right before the game. Yeah. And, spare me, those other places can't or don't do that. So I think that's something that I think is unique. It's valuable. Once you can get the sponsor there or a prospect to go through that experience, and they don't return your call, well, then it's probably your problem. I can't. I mean, if I can take you to a race and I can't get you to have some interest, then it's probably my fault.
Yeah. Do you really do you utilize the access thing, JP, when you're working with a potential client? Is that a big part of what you're pitching in presentation is in terms of access, different from a baseball game to Arlington GP?
Hey, both of my daughters, by the way, we're not, stick and ball. My daughters were college softball players.
That's
so
right.
I like that stuff.
Excellent, outstanding Division I players.
However, yes, I do, because I was in a shootout, if you will, not with another team, with another sport.
Okay. Right.
He's like, wow, for that number, I can get, these things at the ballpark or whatever it is. So the challenge is getting the prospect there when they've never been there. Because if you think about it, we've got some headwinds. It's on the weekend. They got family. They got travel ball they got to go to.
Right.
Whatever. Sometimes it's difficult to get them for the first time during a weekend, especially for us in IndyCar. The Saturday is the best because I can get them super close. Right. But man, when they're there with us and then they see they're on the grid when the jets fly over, man, I mean, that's if you don't use that to your advantage, you should be, I think.
That's good. JP, unbelievably, we are out of time. Thank you so much. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate your transparency, all that you share with folks. And I'm so excited for your success with AJ Foyt Racing and Santino and Taylor and everybody else. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Always will. Thank you.
And we'll be watching at Barber.
You bet.
Okay. JP Moery, everybody. All right, we're going to take another break, give a little love to our sponsors. We'll be right back with yet another fantastic sponsorship guest. Don't go away.
This segment is brought to you by SpeedSport and SpeedSport One. If you live for racing, SpeedSport is where the conversation starts. From breaking news to exciting feature coverage of the biggest events across the country. They don't just report results, they tell the story behind them. IndyCar, NASCAR, dirt track, drag racing, and more. The headlines, highlights, and the rivalries. SpeedSport keeps you locked in all year long. Don't just follow racing, stay ahead of it. Visit speedsport.com, tune into SpeedSport One, or head to speedsport1.com. Your home for everything racing.
All right, welcome back. It's Open. Will Murata, your host, Alex Smith, our producer and engineer. I'll got to give JP a shout out for this. JP said a while ago, but we talked about it one time he was on the show, that if you're in motorsports and you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing out, because that's where the sponsors are. You know, everything else is vanity, honestly. Instagram, TikTok, you know, Facebook, those are all vanity places. I mean, I'm not saying they're not important because they give exposure, but if you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing a world of great people to meet. Our next guest, believe it or not, we met on LinkedIn. He posts really good content. I like his stuff. We kind of like each other's stuff. Really, a great guy. And, I'm so happy that he accepted the invitation. He's currently the partnership manager, marketing manager at Gradient Racing. Gradient is a GTD team. They just competed. We're using I think a Mustang GT3 is their car. They just competed at Sebring. Brian McCrae brings a wealth of business experience to this, and working with Gradient in the IMSA series and ensuring sponsors both receive visibility and meaningful business outcomes through their racing activities. So for the first time, I want to welcome to the Pits Open, Brian McCrae. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Will, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Look at the setup you got there. Wow, this is pro.
I've done this before.
I know. Hey, so how did the weekend at Sebring go?
Oh, you know, it is quite a story because my sponsor never showed up. We connected before I flew out, and he didn't call, didn't text, just didn't show up. And so, as you can imagine, I was pretty upset. But the team and the car, we were struggling with the car. We had a part issue, and it was causing us to be about 2 seconds off the pace, to the degree that we were not only not going to be competitive, we were going to be a moving chicane. We were even considering just packing up and going home unless we could solve this problem.
Okay.
So the guys, the crew, when I got there on Friday, they were just working. Everybody's moving, and everybody's kind of sad and down, and I was too, because my sponsor never showed up. And Andrew Slavens, who is the team owner, is just a terrific human being, and he took the time to come down and talk to me and just say, "Hey, I'm happy that you're here. You know, I'm happy that you're here no matter what." And so on race day, I actually got to work with the crew. Yeah. And so I didn't have anything to do. So I'm not going to stand around. Yeah, and so I got to be part of it. And I worked in the pits for the entire race. We were pulling tires off cars on pit stops and tearing them down, and whatever else needed to be done. And it turned into the most phenomenal racing experience of my life because I was part of it. Yeah. I was actually part of it. And it was remarkable to understand, there are 15 people on this crew. This is a GTD, we're a self-funded independent team with force support. And we're just a scrappy bunch. And these guys worked nonstop. And we had, the dozen pit stops we had, every stop was perfect. It was incredible, the level that these guys play at and just how hard they work just for the entire, weekend of the event. Sure. And so as someone who's an outsider, with no real racing experience, to get the opportunity to do that. And let me tell you, I busted. I worked really hard because I wanted to be, part of it. But that was an invaluable education. I learned
12 hours. I mean, 12 hours is
we got to the track. Well, we got to the track at 6:30 in the morning. Yeah. And we were there until I left at 12:30 a.m. And the rest of the crew were still tearing down the car and, packing everything up. So it was incredible.
So Brian, give us a little background. What were you doing for a few years before you got into motorsports?
I started my career in technology. I was a software engineer for about 10 years. I did a really strong hitch at Dell and then moved into sales and marketing for technology. that's where I spent the bulk of, the last 30 years of my career is in that realm. High-tech marketing, selling to Fortune 50 companies, selling all sorts of software, and learning really selling at that level. You're learning the ins and outs of corporate America, of how things really work behind the scenes, and how to access budget, and how the ROI machines really work. And so it was really great experience, but I just never felt like I was home. I can't really explain it any other way. And in terms of racing, I never had access. I never knew a racer, never was, So it was just kind of something I was a fan of and was really attracted to, but really didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. And then I started Gran Turismo way back in the day. Just started just this rabbit hole that I jumped down. And in 2018, I started iRacing. And that opened the door, Will. That experience, I dove all the way off, and then all of a sudden I'm following every racing series on the planet. Really? It was such a wealth of experience, and so right now, fast forward 8 years, and I have a pro sim racing team. We have a professional iRacing team with sponsors. I've got 7 drivers. Our league races 7 nights a week. We run all the endurance events, and it's become. It's the ins and outs and intricacies of running a race team, but just in sim land. And there are so many racers, especially now, that have come up through sim racing. It's become kind of woven into the fabric of racing. And so that experience, I knew that I just wanted to find a way to get involved in the sport. And so I'm 56, right? And so I'm not going to make it as a driver. I don't have the engineering background. So what am I going to do? Well, I know how to access money, and I know how corporations work. And now, especially now that I've been a part of it, now I understand how racing works too. And so I think, there's a way I can bring money to these race teams. Mm-hmm. And so I called Andrus Lavens. He's here in Austin. That's where I live. And I brought him a potential sponsor. I met at Laguna Seca last year. And that started a relationship, and I just talked my way into a job. Wow! so now I'm doing this full time. Yeah, and it's been to be able to do things like last year. I was at Petit Le Mans, and I got to stand on the grid with the crew during the national anthem. Yeah, and that was one of the most surreal moments of my life, to go from this aspirational sim racer to standing on the racetrack. Wow! At that level. So it's been an incredible experience, and I can tell you that when I'm around racing in any capacity, and when I'm especially at races, it's home to me. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I belong. And to have that, to be able to feel that at this point in my career, and then to be able to have an opportunity to go and play in the big leagues, right? To go do it for real. Yeah. So I am just beyond grateful, and it's been such a journey.
Well, I was so excited about the race because I watched a lot of it on Peacock and, of course, NBC and Car 66, right? And it's your car, yeah, that's right? And because of our connection, I felt a personal connection to the team. I was hoping things would have gone a little bit better, but I know a lot of the drivers and stuff. So it's really cool to feel involved, vicariously through the people that that are there. I know drivers and teams and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I take it for granted because I've been doing the racing stuff for a long time. My first in-person Indy 500, 1982. Yeah, shows you how old I am. And I don't know. Sometimes maybe I've lost a little of that. I noticed there's a spark with you, standing on the grid, and maybe I start taking that for granted. I shouldn't. I'm excited to hear your excitement about it because it might translate and get me a little more excited again about it because it's cool. What I love about your writing though, and you're on LinkedIn, so I would encourage you to follow Brian McCrae on LinkedIn because he's got some good stuff. We're both tuned into the same struggle and same dilemma, and that is, you got to ROI this thing. Sponsors are too sophisticated now; they're too savvy. They know what's going on. They know they can spend the same $1 million in social media and get at least a measurable return. How do you see motorsports converting to I'd say legitimate, but kind of a more legitimate business that we can ROI things out now and we can show value to sponsor? How do you see that happening?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, quite literally. And I'll start by saying, just at the high level with which we compete. I mean, this is sports car racing, and IMSA doesn't have the profile of NASCAR or Formula One, but these are the best race car drivers in the world. And, it's Penske, Porsches out there. I mean, this is the big leagues for sports car racing. And so it's an elite level of competition. We're on national television, on Peacock and NBC. Mm-hmm. And so it's to see these cars, and the bulk of them, especially in the GTD class, are not sponsored. They're right. Owner, customer race teams. And so that would just seem like such a disconnect from me from the start, was that, wow, here's this amazing product that, has this niche following that is just being unutilized in some cases. And I think the biggest challenge, Will, and you and I talked about this, is that the way that we used to think about ROI in racing, the exposure, the marketing, the activation, the hospitality, all those things don't add up to enough dollar ROI as the costs of racing have gone up, but also the competition for the dollars on the corporate side. There are other proven investments that are more safer than investing in a race team.
Sure.
And so that's the curve that I think we're all playing on. And what I've come up with is, I believe that the only way to stand out, the only way to really create ROI, is that you have to take the exposure. Like that's a given. Right. If you're gonna put your logo on my car, you're gonna get the exposure, you're gonna get the hospitality, you're gonna get all that activation. But I have to find another way to tie you to the racing activities, to make our racing activities relevant to your business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We got to take a quick break. We come back. I want to stay on this path, though, because I think you really understand it, and I want you to talk more about it, and I want to explain a little bit more about the difference in ROI proof today versus even 10 years ago. It's changed dramatically. So hang on. Guys, don't go away. We'll be right back. We got a lot more to talk about. Stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by America's Christian Credit Union. If you want your money working for you without stepping away from your values, this is worth a serious look. Right now, America's Christian Credit Union is offering a 12-month certificate at 4.5%. That's one of the highest rates in the nation, and it's all available for a limited time to new members. You can open with as little as $1,000 or invest up to $1 million. It's a term share certificate, similar to a CD, but grounded in mission. Lock in the rate while it's available. Visit americaschristianccu.com/pits to get started.
All right, welcome back. Pits are open. Will Marotti, your host. Joining us first time, Brian McCrae is the partner marketing manager at Gradient Racing, which is a GTD team in IMSA. And oh, by the way, IMSA's on the tear. IMSA is doing great right now. They said they had record crowds at Sebring, and the TV showed it. I mean, it was packed there. The excitement level was pretty palpable through the TV screen. How do you take it, and when you're trying to prove the value to a potential sponsor, how do we take all of these elements that we get and package it into a one tradable security that looks attractive for sponsors?
That's a great question, and I think pooling our knowledge like that, I can certainly see that being beneficial. And it goes back to this initial premise of how can we, as racers and as business people, make these racing activities or the team activities directly relevant to your business somehow. And then in that's the mechanism that we use to prove the actual ROI. So, for example, endurance racing is its own little special niche of, you got these drivers who spend hours behind the wheel. And so things like nutrition and supplementation and hydration, these things are critical and they're crucial. So one of the things I'm working on is I'm working with these nutrition companies to actually take their product and then develop a protocol around having our team use the product in the races. And then building a study that measures the physical effect over time. And so we can present that as a peer-reviewed study done in a professional racing series. And that study that proves the value of whatever claim the company's making, that is evidence. And that has real commercial value. And so that's the kind of asset that, if I put that on top of delivering a beautiful race car with a custom livery and I'll give you the whole activation experience. And if I deliver this asset that has standalone commercial value, that's something that's going to get an executive's attention.
Yeah,
for sure. The other thing that it does is that it embeds the sponsor into the race team. Because now the sponsor is directly relevant. They're part of us. They're part of the show. They're part of the team. And that partnership, that real partnership, gives us an opportunity to create a lasting relationship so that this company comes back next season. And so it gives us an ability to maybe, even instead of chasing these sponsors race by race and week by week and season by season, we can get some longevity and build real relationships.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the classic example of that, again, it's a different scale, but last year, this company, Java House, and Java House is the same company that has a different type of sweeteners, stevia, things of that nature, partnered with Ed Carpenter Racing. And at Arlington, they gave away 7,000 samples of their cold brew coffee in Java House and said that they captured, I think it was 5,000 or 6,000 names and email addresses and phone numbers of people that they now can directly market for Java House. And I think it's those kind of activations that make it exciting. And a company like that sees the value, sees the potentiality of what they can, brew, for lack of a better word, what they can brew up at the track, Your drivers, like who are your drivers for your and it's a Mustang you guys run, right? A GT3 Mustang. Who are your drivers in this event?
So our drivers for this event were Joey Hand, and Joey Hand's, he's Le Mans winner. He's a Ford factory driver.
Sure.
We, just to back up a bit, Gradient Racing we get a lot of support from Ford Racing. So Ford Racing has two teams there for the factory teams in the GT Pro category. So they're already there, and it's the same car. The cars are identical. It's just a different class of driver and pro.
Right.
And we run the same Multimatic GT3, and so and we get access to all their setup data, get access to all their real-time data. We have two Ford engineers who are with us on race weekends, so we get a lot of support from Ford. Joey is a Ford factory driver, and he's been part of this program since we started running the Mustang last year. And he's a great bridge. Obviously, he's a phenomenal race car driver. He's a great person just to hang around. It's an education every time you're anywhere near him because he knows so much about the sport. And he's also the guy you want in the car because he's a force behind the wheel. Sure. And then we had Jake Lewis, who Jake is one of our new drivers, and he's just a customer, like we are a customer racing team. And so our endurance lineup is Jake, and then also Till Bechtolsheimer. And Till is the CEO of Lola Race Cars, and he's just a longtime friend and partner. And so he rolls with us on endurance events too.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah, no kidding. And so we ran, and to those guys' credit, we didn't have the raw speed in the car. But to those guys' credit, we ran a perfect race, and those guys, they kept the car clean, they kept it undamaged, and then we actually had a shot to win the class at the very end because we made a pit strategy call, and had Joey not gotten wrecked on the last couple of laps, we would have contended for a podium.
Wow!
And so it was remarkable. It really was, and all credit to those drivers who get behind the wheel in these conditions. And these guys, these are the best sports car racing drivers on the planet, and you see it. You see it when you're up close and personal. And you see these guys and these pit stops, our pit crews are the same mechanics who've been working on the car for 14 hours, and they're perfect every time. They're perfect every time. It's remarkable.
Wow. So let me ask you, I noticed in the GT Pro and GT3D, a lot of foreign car badges. I mean, I see Ferrari. I think Ferrari at one point in GTT was like 1, 2, 3. Why don't we have more American sport? It seems like I saw 2 Mustangs and 2 Camaros.
Well, no, Chevy doesn't have a presence in sports car racing anymore.
They don't. Okay, I'm thinking probably Trans Am. All right,
Trans Am. That's right. Trans Am. They do. I mean, of course, NASCAR. But Ford, to Ford's credit, they have invested in racing in all kinds of, like they're in the FIA WEC series, so they're on the other side of the planet, and they're also running the Ford Mustang GTD. So they haven't basically consolidated their investment in racing, and the Ford Mustang is the GT platform for Ford right now all over the world.
Okay.
They've invested a lot of resources, and I haven't seen any other American manufacturer do that. Of course, Porsche is heavily invested in the series, and heavily, and they run the Ferrari as well. And those are names you expect to see, and who've been there, the cornerstones of the sport. So to see Ford, do what they're doing, and the race cars, this is a new platform. This is only the second season for us on the car. And we're still learning it, so we're still kind of, putting it through its paces, so to speak. But it's a workhorse, and I think it's a phenomenal piece of machinery, and we're going to keep dialing this thing in, and you're going to see us start winning races.
Is there room to grow? Is there another spot for another Mustang in the lineup, you think?
We actually, there isn't. There was a new one from Riley. Riley's fielding a Mustang for the first time this season. And the grid, too, like we said earlier, IMSA is exploding in popularity. So the grid is pretty tough to get on the grid. Gradient's been around so long. This is Andrus's 9th season fielding a team. So we pretty much have secured a spot, any time that we want it. So that is impressive. It really is, considering that he runs this thing on a shoestring like this. It's our people. We have a reputation in the paddock as being just really good people that you want to hang out with, and it's true. These guys are.
Well, if they're anything like you, it must be a great team. I don't know. Hey, Brian, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you travel and coming back from Sebring and here on the show. Thank you so much. We'll have you on again, and give our regards to the folks at Gradient Racing, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you.
Okay, guys, that's it. It's a wrap for us. Wow, that went by quickly. Special thanks to JP Moery, and again, Brian McCrae was just on. Alex, great job today. Hey, listen, don't forget, go to our website, pitsareopen.com, sign up for our weekly newsletter, stay on top of who the guests are. We have a great show next week. Oh my gosh, we've got a driver and a sponsorship marketing guru coming in next week. It's going to be fabulous. Thank you. We love you guys. God bless you.